While gaming is a relatively new means of entertainment, it has been around long enough for some series of games to fall to the wayside. It has advanced at an alarming rate, and with that, sometimes the reason we love certain games is lost. There are a number of games out there that really weren't that long ago, but fans are begging for a comeback. My name is Steve Knauer, and this is Game Zone's Top 5 of the Week. This week, Top 5 needed comebacks in video games. Number 5, The Mark of Cree. I'm not sure how many people remember this game, but it was released on the PS2 in 2002. It was created by SCE San Diego Studio and was heavily influenced by Polynesian culture. I like to call the art style If Disney Went Rated R, because it was cartoony and exaggerated, yet gruesome and violent in nature. The Mark of Cree was a stealth action game where the protagonist Rao takes on missions as a favor, which soon leads him to learn about an evil organization known as the Kazooie. The story is somewhat loose and the motivations behind it remind me of epics like Beowulf. Rao starts off doing missions to keep his people safe, but eventually he learns that it's his destiny. The reason I find myself wanting more from the Mark of Cree is because it's simplistic in nature. That mixed with the otherwise severely underappreciated Polynesian culture really makes this game ripe for the picking. It spawned a sequel called The Rise of Kazooie in 2005, which was also great, but absolutely nothing has come from this series since. I think it's time it came back. Number 4, Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter. Naughty Dog deserves plenty of credit for most people's memories of the PS1 and PS2 days. Crash Bandicoot was essentially the mascot of PlayStation, and even spawned retaliations to both Mario Kart and Mario Party. On the PS2, they would more or less move on to Jak and Daxter, a series also loved at the time. The best part about Naughty Dog was that, being a 90s kid, I felt like they grew with me. In my younger days, I stomped around the forest collecting Wampa fruits with Crash Bandicoot. In my teenage years, I joined Jak and Daxter as they grew from a Crash Bandicoot clone to their own gritty, somewhat angsty characters. It was during the PS3 days that Naughty Dog moved on to a more realistic world like Uncharted. While Uncharted is a great series all in its own right, Crash and Jak and Daxter had a certain element that's been missing ever since, which is why I lumped them together as number 4. Number 3, Banjo Kazooie. Pretty much everyone who owned a Nintendo 64 knew about Banjo Kazooie. While Super Mario 64 was the system's herald, Banjo Kazooie seemed to take everything that was good in Super Mario 64 and made it better. They didn't stop there though. Rare Entertainment made a game that was amazing in its own right. Banjo Kazooie was the talk of everyone who played video games. The way they utilized 2 characters as one, the creativity of the world they were in, and the clever traversal of the levels made this game a beloved treasure. It spawned a sequel called Banjo Tooie, which built upon the original. But in the end of the N64 era, Rare was looking for potential buyers from other publishers due to the rising cost in video game development in 2002. Microsoft bought them, and it was there that Rare Studios started to, quite honestly, lose their touch. With a number of flopped in-house projects and the eventual focus on the Kinect years later in 2009, Rare kind of floundered compared to their glory days. It's quite possible that we may never see another Banjo Kazooie again, but a number of the former Rare employees actually founded a new studio called Playtonic Games, and they're actually working on a spiritual successor. It's known as the indie title, Yooka-Laylee, a game that stars a chameleon and a bat that bear a striking resemblance to Banjo Kazooie. Yooka-Laylee even has very similar music and platforming. It's planned to release in October of 2016. Number 2, Beyond Good and Evil. Beyond Good and Evil 2. Will we ever see you again? This top 5 list was actually inspired by yet another piece of news involving the development of Beyond Good and Evil 2, a project that's in and out of development for years. The latest news is that Nintendo might be looking to bankroll the series, much like they did with Bayonetta 2. But for those who are unfamiliar, Beyond Good and Evil was a stealth action game set in the distant future on a dystopian world inhabited by anthropomorphic animals and humans alike. It's very cartoony, but it also has some pretty serious tones, which is turning into a theme of this top 5 list. You play as Jade, a woman that fosters a number of animal children and is assisted by her quote-unquote uncle, Paige, the boar-like creature. Jade takes it upon herself to do a little investigative journalism in retaliation to the poor treatment of her people received from the oppressive government. The game fits comfortably between a platformer, a stealth game, and an action game. The most fun part of the game is the world itself. It's so weird and creative that I have been begging for more since 2003. There's still no word of any sort of details or even a release year for Beyond Good and Evil 2, but the fact that it keeps sprouting up in the news can't mean that it's dead. Number 1. Dark Cloud. Dark Cloud 2 is one of my favorite games of all time, and its predecessor isn't too far behind either. They're dungeon crawling action games from the PlayStation 2. In both games, the world is more or less destroyed, and all houses, people, and items are placed into these diorama spheres that the player must fight in dungeons to recover. You can rebuild the towns however you see fit, and it's basically making your own RPG villages. The first game had many characters to choose from, but the story was a little weak. But Dark Cloud 2 had an amazing story involving 2 fully realized protagonists as opposed to 6 nearly voiceless characters in the first. Their names are Max and Monica. Max is from the present where he lives in an industrial city where no one has left for years, or else they'd notice that the world around them more or less disappeared. Monica is from the future and comes back to find out why the world's inhabitants disappeared and they try to fix it. This game has so much to do. City building, dungeon crawling, mech building, party gathering, weapon leveling, time travel, monster transformation, and it even has a game similar to golf. Maybe it's nostalgia speaking, but I haven't found a game so chock full of content since. The voice work was even pretty highly praised, with voice actors such as Scott Menville, Philip Proctor, Alan Oppenmeyer, Andy McAfee, and Paul Eading. This series deserves a comeback. If the jump in quality between the first and second one was any indication of potential, just imagine the jump from 2, created in 2002, to a modern-day sequel. The best part was the fact that it could truly be enjoyed by all ages. I know this from experience, as I've gone back to play it at least 3 times in my life. Video games are a medium with heavily invested fans. This list could be near limitless. Perhaps more genre or console-specific lists should be made in the future. Do you agree with this list? Have another top 5 you'd like to see? Let us know in the comments below. Check out GameZone.com for more news and reviews on your favorite series, and subscribe to our channel. If you'd like to see more from me, check out my channel in the link below. My name is Steve Knauer, and this has been GameZone's Top 5 of the Week.